Hi everyone. Today's engraving is based on a question from one of my patrons, and that is to do with a landscape scene on the opposite side of a glass where you are intending to engrave a feature image on the front. For example, an animal in a countryside, which is basically what I'm going to do today. Very simplified though, and I've got this lovely little crystal glass which you have seen so many times because I had quite a few of them. I'm going to put my glasses on now. Right, I very roughly sketched a little scene. Let's have a look. Here we have a little muntjac having a little stroll along. Now it's quite unusual to have a scene where the feature is facing the other side and not inwards. Artistic license means you can do whatever you want, but it's just what I felt like doing because it's nature, it's random, and this little muntjac happens to be looking sort of forward anyway, and the birds will be kind of probably flying. You can see the birds in the background there that I'm talking about, flying sort of into the image, so it should all hang together nicely. So we've got a tree on the front here, probably an oak, but you know, it's not a botanical study, it's just going to be a tree. Little muntjac going on here, bit of ground there, and in the background we have got let me turn it around. Sort of, that's quite a lumpy mountain, but I'm going to try and make it look like a mountain, or a hill, basically, more another hill there, a little bit of undulating ground, and another tree, and of course a couple of birds flying about. So now, as I say, the whole idea is to not have this white out at the back like a lot of beginner engravers do. They'll engrave the back fully and something on the front, and then when you hold it up everything is just a white mishmash and you can't see what's going on. And so this will demonstrate how to do the background so that it's there, it's clearly there, but it's more subtle, and so that whatever you engrave on the front stands out more, and it just makes a lovely 3D scene, a little landscape, a little painting. Although painting is not 3D as such. That's what I love about this medium. You can really make use of the depth using the entire bowl. Righto, let's get on with it. Beginning with a little Dura White, slightly pointy end, but you could use a little ball Dura White as well, or any very small stone, something that's just going to produce a half tone, just to put in very basic shapes. Now in this little muntjac I've even marked the eyes and the markings above the eyes, but I'm actually not even going to bother with those at the moment because I'm going to engrave the whole shape out anyway. So it's just to get the basics in all the way round, not just the front, all the way round, because of course if you start working with water this marker is going to come off. It is one of the very, very fine permanent markers, because if it was not, then as I'm turning the glass it would have smudged off by now on the back. So a permanent marker just means that obviously it's going to last that little bit longer. It will come off as soon as water gets underneath it. So once the water starts trickling on it, it'll start to lift it off. And but it's very useful to give you the full visual. Now you can also use, of course, a white pencil, a waxy pencil, and that's just entirely up to you. You can use any color actually, and I've got the white paper behind it at the moment, obviously, so that you can see the black outline. And here I'm just showing you, there's the back and there's the front, so that you're not seeing both together. Now I can take the white paper away and you can sort of see what's going on with this very, very light touch of outline. Having said that, the birds, however, I have gone quite deep. Now, as usual, I've grabbed a scrappy glass that I play and experiment with, and I'm just testing some of my burrs. Now, this is looks like a Dura White, but it's not a Dura White. This is a stone, and I'm just showing you what I did above with a student a while back. I like to do a sort of a simple cross-hatchy, well, not entirely cross-hatch, but different angles of linear work, just to show movement in the ground. Now here I'm just showing an effect of flicks. It's amazing from a distance, you know, using this sort of technique, you can create all sorts of effects in the background. Any stone that is not as bright as a diamond actually works quite well. You're aiming for a stone that can be easily polished back. So here I'm just messing around, I'm just experimenting, I'm just playing, because I'm just going to make it up as I go along. It's always good to have a scrap glass. Now here underneath this little bit of ground, I'm holding it very, very lightly, running it slowly and barely touching the glass, and you can see that it gives a very, very soft effect. This is actually quite nice as sparkles on water or something like that. And here's some cross-hatching, just producing an interesting half-tone. I've got a little rubber here which I'm just going to see the shading that it will create. This is a rubber I'm not sure where I got it from. I'm not that keen on it. As you can see, it breaks up very easily, so this will wear down very quickly. But the main thing is it is softening it slightly. But this is a soft rubber. It is not a hard rubber, so it is just taking the edge off the brightness. And here is a little bit of playfulness. This is a scrappy piece of sandpaper which I've cut. It's not even in a circle, it's just quite scrappy. And I have used it before, so it's worn slightly on the edges, but you can see even now it can create a little half-tone, fluffy sort of cloudy effect. And this, of course, is the very coarse rubber that on its own will mark the glass, and it will also soften the engraving. So here I've been playing with this China pencil, and just adding some movement to my background. I've also extended parts of my drawing and added to it. And here I am using that same stone. It's a sort of a softer stone, but not as soft as a Dura White. I find it's almost like a little painting. Well, you know me, I paint. I paint with diamonds. And so I'm just getting some initial background movement into this mountain, hill, whatever, haystack. It does look funny. But it is just a start of movement. It could be anywhere and any type of background. quite useful. Now here you can see straight away that rubber is starting to blend in. This is actually, as I mentioned before, this is quite a coarse rubber. And this hill is far away, so I am wanting it a little bit blurrier. Blurrier? Is that a word? It is now. It will also take away the clear glass that's in between these lines, and it just sort of blends it all together. Now here I have a rubber. Again, I have just picked up a random rubber. This is not a rubber I often use. It's soft-ish, but there are many different rubbers out there. They all do different things, and you know, this is just experimenting and playing. All I'm doing is blending together a series of movements that could be anything in this hill or mountain. What you could do also, of course, is add trees and that sort of thing into this hill, but I haven't. It's definitely, I would say, a hill, not a mountain. Now here is an interesting burr. I have actually just put it onto that glass and you could see that it did absolutely nothing, but it will take away the hue of that rough rubber. So that is an interesting little burr, and I thought I would show you now with the brightest, driest, grittiest bit of engraving how white this will be in front of the background. So just putting in some basic marks into the front of the glass. Look at that dust. I haven't got the extractor on. I do have a mask on. You must wear a mask. And of course I could be using water. Now this is the tree at the back. It's at the back, but it's always in front of the hill, whether you're looking at the back of the glass or at the front of the glass. Fascinating, isn't it? So now you can see how bright that is against the background. The background is still, in my opinion, a little bit too bright for the moment. I will be definitely toning down those stripy bits. I don't know where I've gone. Come back. Okay, so I've got the slightly smaller diamond burr. This is a sintered diamond as well. Do be careful when you are engraving and wearing rings. I don't often mention this, but I'm so used to it. I generally am very aware of my rings. I'd rather keep them on because I know me, I will more than likely lose them, leave them behind at work or whatever. But they are something that can easily scratch the glass when you're frequently wiping away the engraving. So, I mean the dust. So do be careful when you are wearing rings. With this little diamond, I'm also kind of neatening some edges, I think, where there were some chippy bits, but I'll more than likely use a different burr for that later on. Now you're dying to see the animal against the background. I won't be completing the animal in this video, but I'll just do its bottom. just to give you a visual, roughly, very roughly for the moment, how the front will show up against the background. And I will be toning the background. Those stripy bits are a little bit bright, and yeah, they do need to be toned down a bit. They happen when there is a little bit of extra grit in the stone that's kind of sticking out, and they can be very useful, of course, but in this case, a bit bright. It looks like a rock, actually. It's a big lumpy rock. But there we go, that is already showing up very well. Now, I've gone back to this other burr wheel, the wheel rubber, and I just felt that the background needed to come down a bit because it looked a little bit like it was floating, which will be alright if you want to create a lake or something like that in front of it. I might still do that, actually. I'll see. But as you can see, this just makes a mark, a hue on the glass that gives you the impression of something being there. So these brush strokes are random. This is just ground. It needed to come down a little bit more. And this is that very, very smooth rubber again. When you touch it, it just feels so smooth. There's no grit in it at all. It does nothing on plain glass, but it does take away some of this hue and just adds a slight darkness wherever you touch. Well, that's as far as I'm going to go in this video. We're getting there. It's definitely starting to look a little bit like a little seam. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll be back with the next part soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.